Good evening. Well, I don't know what time it is over there, but it's now midnight, and somehow I just suddenly feel the urge to talk about Love is Blind. At this point, I'm sure my friends are sick of hearing it from me, so I decided to bring it upon myself to show the internet my unsolicited thoughts. I'm fully aware that no one asked for this, but I am confident that someone on this internet will find it mildly interesting at least. I'm usually not a reality show fan, one because I get secondhand embarrassment, but two, I think they're all liars. Like, I don't believe all these hot people or failed models are here to find true love. But then we have Love is Blind. So if you don't know what Love is Blind is, that is crazy, but it's a show where people get to go on dates in these pods where they don't get to see each other with the sole purpose of finding your true match and get married. And you only get to see each other after you accepted the proposal, testing the theory that is love really blind. So I have some hope for this show because they find very average people in terms of look and occupation. I will say though, the girls are getting prettier and prettier, and it's to a point that I don't know how average they are. For the purpose of my gossiping, I would love to believe the good in people and that they're here for a genuine connection, not just for fame. And honestly, from the way they're acting, I don't believe they're here for fame because honestly, that's the worst PR I will have ever seen. You also get to see more genuine connection forming between people other than just hot people finding each other to be hot. Disclaimer, these are all my opinions, baseless thoughts, they're not facts. Thank you. So this season is based in Minneapolis, which is the Midwest of US, and for someone who hasn't really met a lot of Americans in my life, I didn't realize how different they can be according to which part of the US they came from. And this show really showed me. This season in particular, the people are very white, not just in terms of ethnicity, but they're just very different archetype I would imagine of white Americans. Small town, kind of plain, not much to talk about. But yes, also the ethnicity, there's a lot of white people this season with very white names, and for me it's very hard to distinguish them, and I thought that was a me issue, but after watching other people watching this show, the general consensus is that this season is very hard to distinguish. So I will be putting pictures next to them for a majority of this video. Let's get ready for some white people drama. Here are the contestants, or notable contestants of this season. They did say this is the biggest season they had. I assume the amount of people they invited on the show, but honestly there's not that many matches. First we have Madison. She is my favorite. She's very cool, very funny. She is very self-reflective as a person. I just have a lot of respect for the resilience that some people have to make it out of hard backgrounds. And then we have Taylor. Not much to say about her. Very love Christmas. She's very funny. She does look like she's very good-hearted. Brittany, not Brittany, very warm. We don't see much of her on this show, but she gave off very happy, outgoing energy. She's definitely someone that I will use the phrase that she light up the room when she walk in, and I have never really used that phrase on anyone. But yeah, she seems like a great fun to hang around with. Virginia, again, not much to show of her. I feel like this season we focus on very particular love triangles going on rather than you get a glimpse of every connection. To be honest, I have a mixed feeling about her. On the one hand, I think she's self-aware and she have a pretty impressive educational background. She seems that she has achieved what she wanted with work. But on the other hand, she is very religious, and I do think she has in some way take pride of being very feminine, which is good for her. That is a pure speculation. Lauren, she pissed me off. She's very like girl next door, the perfect wife you will have. She's kind, she's nice, she's insecure, and honestly I could see her being easily manipulated. She's definitely the type to date men that doesn't like her, but she thinks that's just how men act in relationship. I wish she stand her ground a bit more. It's very interesting because she does realize what shouldn't be happening in relationship, but she doesn't necessarily deal with it. She just accept it and move on. And then we have Molly. I think she's cool. She seemed to be the type to not care about much things. She has never been in a committed relationship by choice and wants her husband to be her first boyfriend. I feel like if that's the case, you shouldn't do something like Love is Blind where you only get to talk to each other for 10 weeks and decide to get engaged, because I do think in dating you find out a lot more about yourself and what you need and deserve. So I don't know about that. Other than that, she seems cool. Monica, funny. She's just fun. She's cool. I think she'll be fun to hang around with. And then we have Meg, who pissed me off. She's very into conspiracy theories, which is fine. We all been through that phase, but again, she's 30, and I'll talk a bit more about why that bothered me later on. She's just very easily impressed, which make me feel like she's not a very intellectual person. She also gave me really bad secondhand embarrassment, so I did have to skip a lot of her parts. I just see her as an American who grew up in the US. She's loud, she swears a lot, she's always yelling for some reason. I'm fully aware that's a stereotype, by the way. I'm not saying this is what they are. I will say though, she does seem like someone you could have fun with in the party. party, and if you're in a toilet in a club, she would definitely offer you hair clips or perfume or whatever you need. And then we have Sarah. I actually really liked her for a long time. I think she's gorgeous beyond many things. She's cool, sure of herself, and I do like the way she holds herself. But then she's very liberal feminist is what I would say. I mean, she never talked about being a feminist, and we'll talk more about that later. And then we have the men. We have Alex. He grew up ugly. That's kind of his big thing, which usually can be a hit or miss for men. Like, they either become this psychopathic incel, or they become very heartwarming, empathetic people. You can tell that he has a lot of self-reflection when it comes to himself in terms of relationship. He's a very good active listener. I think as far as a man on reality TV show goes, he's as good as they come. Before you say anything, I have seen the accusations as I'm editing this video, so I'll talk about it more in my next video. I'm not saying they're facts, but trust no man, not even the ones that look like they cannot hurt a fly. And then we have Daniel. He is a short king, and he's funny. I like that about him. He's funny, like suburban, semi-rich kids who came from a good family with loving parents. That's the vibe. Guys, my sister just came back with food. We have Korean chicken wings from 7-Eleven. Beef belly noodles. That's instant noodles from Haidilao. It's actually empty. I have to like put it in myself. Devin. I didn't tell you who Devin is. Devin is a biphobic, as far as I know, but probably homophobic too, Christian man who wants kids and family. My issue with him is that he wants kids like how kids want puppies. Like, he haven't fully comprehended what it means to have kids, raise kids, give birth to kids. I think his idea of having kids is like how Asians see uni. Like, it's not a choice, you just have to do it. I honestly think he's quite naive when it comes to kids and family. Like, for him, it's just a must, probably because of his like very traditional Christian values. And I think because of that, he tends to find women who are very nurturing to compensate for his naiveness. But also, I have to say that again. Pretend I never said that before. He wants 2 to 5 kids, which I guess if I don't have to pop them out myself, I would want 10 kids too, you know? I think, okay, this might just be a personal opinion, I think if a man loves me enough, he's not gonna let me like give birth to kids. But yeah, that's Devin. You don't see much of him on screen too. And then we have Joey, who I actually really like, surprisingly. I think I never really bonded with people like this, but he's very outgoing, very happy. He looks a bit slow, not in the mean way. It's just like he's always happy. At the same time, he's been to therapy, and you can really tell that he has self-reflection going on. And again, that's very rare when it comes to men. Yeah, I really like him. There's so many packs going on. Next, we have Ben, who I always mix up with Daniel. Ben is unremarkable at best, willfully ignorant at worst. I think he's boring. I don't think he had much to say. He gave up I never really read a book ever in my life energy. I'd say he's not very a critical thinker, which seemed to be a theme going on this season. Yeah, not much to say about him. Very boring. Wait, does Ben really exist? I keep mixing up the contestants. Wait, I don't know which one is Ben. That's what I mean. They're all white and look the same. I can't tell the difference.
I just wanted the camera frame.
It's fine. I'll put a sticker over your face. And then we have Mason, again, very simple, boring guy. Also look like he haven't really read any books. Regular American from a small town. Not much I can say about. And last but not least, we have Dave. He is actually the worst people I've ever met. Actually, that's a lie. I think marriage surprise you in ways they disappoint you. I'm sure you guys have seen the clip going around.
I work in medical aesthetics, so I'm surrounded by Botox, fillers. That has affected me in terms of what a woman should look like.
Which is a crazy thing to say when you look like a potato. Also, I would just like to point out he doesn't really work in the plastic surgery industry. You would think he's a doctor, but he's just a medical equipment sales. Personally, I don't really have that big of an issue with people having physical preference. But it's funny because it's always the ugly men that go around saying that they are visual people. And it's like, how are you going to be a visual people if you don't look in the mirror? Because if he ever seen himself, he's not a visual person. And my biggest issue with him saying that is that shouldn't you realize how unrealistic the beauty standard is by watching women going into plastic surgeries and how painful and just invasive the process is? But instead of having sympathy to it, he just went, yeah, all women should look like that. I hate him, and I hate him in a way that words can't express it. He's awful, but he's awful in a way that he's not even gonna own up his awfulness, which I think are the worst people. The least you can do when you're a bad person is to be upfront about it. If you do that, I have some respect for you. One thing he does is by joking about things that aren't funny, and honestly I think he meant to say it. But at the end he will also say, oh, I'm joking, so you can't get mad at him. Honestly, that's not even the worst part about him. Throughout the show he just gives you more reason to hate him. So episode 1, Molly hit it off with Dave. They both went to Catholic school. He opened up about his mom who passed away from cancer and that she has always been very hard on him, specifically teaching him integrity. Honestly, it's kind of giving men discovery sympathy after they took acid. He complimented Molly by telling her that her voice set her apart from the other girls, and it just come from this like presumption that women are basic and sound the same or look the same. Devin hit it off with Brittany. They both coaches basketball and think they share a very similar energy. Like, he also made a connection with Virginia, who actually went to the same high school with him, which is crazy, but apparently Minnesota is very small, everyone know each other. Joey makes a connection with Monica, and again they share a very similar small town suburb American vibe, very easygoing, both very happy people. Madison makes a connection with Alex, and she talked about how growing up she had a very dysfunctional family, specifically how her mom had issue with substance abuse. During this you can tell Alex is a very active listener. He really processes what you're saying, which you can really contrast it with Dave. He opens up about how he's been bullied and how that changed him as a person. He actually got kicked out from his family because he got bad grades in school due to his ADHD, and they kicked him out, which is crazy. Like, for school, it's really not that deep, but I guess not everyone should have kids. And Madison also make a connection with Mason, which I'm quite surprised with because he's quite a simple person. They're both creatives and Lakers fan, which means a lot for her because it's like a family sentiment. Especially her stepdad, who passed away when she was younger, was a huge Lakers fan. I don't know if it's the editing, but with Mason, she seemed to be more reserved. Meanwhile, Mason made a connection with Mag. He finds her to be funny, which is interesting because she's such a millennial white woman. Like, she's not funny, but she thinks she is. She uses the word quirky, which just tells you that she's not quirky at all. She talks about how she wants her partner to be a weirdo with her. Which
I love just like being a weirdo with someone. Is he goofy? Will we laugh together?
Personally, I think if you have to use the word weirdo, you're a boring person. It's kind of giving Jughead. If Jughead was a hyper millennial white woman. I should talk about aliens.
Let's talk about aliens for a quick sec.
And ants, and how she listened to Joe Rogan podcast, and how she have high sober thoughts, whatever that means. But yeah, she's just very easily amazed, very easily stimulated. Just kept talking about aliens, which is fine when you're 12.
Aliens are real.
My sister is here and I'm actually trying to tell her the stories. I think aliens are real, but I think your obsession with alien when you're 30 does not go beyond those graining YouTube videos that says alien called #real. I just think you don't have much going on in your brain. She does this thing where she talk about things without adding any of her opinion. She just talk about things as they come. And now we see Dave again, our favorite contestant of the show. He meets Lauren. He started off the conversation by asking her age. When she said that she's 30, he hit her with a, oh, so you're no longer attractive. And when she was clearly offended by it, he said, oh, sorry, it's just a joke. Like, it's not a joke. I just hate people who are like this. Like, if you want to be mean, own it up to it. Just feel like, I don't date women who are 30 because I think they're unattractive. But clearly he doesn't have the balls to own up to it. So he's trying to play it off as a joke. It's also funny because he's also 30 and no longer physically attractive. So I guess there's projection going on there. Lauren expressed that her dad's name's also Dave. And he was like, oh, isn't it like normal to be attracted to people who reminds you of your parents? And it's like, no, that's so weird. What? Ew. I can see that he finds women that are like his mother in terms of self-sacrifice and willingness to be a housewife. I cannot comprehend the idea that my boyfriend could possibly be anything like my dad. That is actually nasty. Yes, he would just ghost me. He talked about how he was raised right because he had a mother and older sister. He put the toilet seat down. Apparently he deserves a medal for that. If you think I'm being mean to him, wait and see to see how horrible this man is. And this is not on prompt. Granted, I didn't like him from my first impression, but it's so much more than that. He shares the fact that his sister, who partly raised him due to his mom passing away, didn't want him to come on the show because she didn't think there's girls here good enough for him. Now, I know there's some filters there. Sister filter, family filter, whatever it is. But I think the main issue should be that you not coming on the show to threaten the whole community. Throughout the show, he does talk about his sister as this woman who just have this crazy obsession with what he's doing.
Because your sister...
My sister... Your sister is gonna...
It's honestly gotten kind of weird. And I really think he just used her as a scapegoat or make him look good. So I am really excited to see later on in the show whether she will come on the show. because I want to see if she's psychotic or if she's just a lie. He does seem to share a very genuine bond with Lauren, but I was surprised to find out that she parties because he said, and I quote, that she seems so cute and innocent. What a great way to describe a 30-year-old. He has such a smart way with words that just know how to get on my nerves. Are we not past describing grown woman as cute and innocent? But at the same time, I think she's perfect for him. She is the perfect nice girl. Stay with you when you're an awful person. And he, on the other hand, is an awful person. So I actually think they're kind of cute together, not gonna lie. It is funny because she has a tattoo that says "F the patriarchy," but it's not very the patriarchy of her to accept these weird, awful jokes he's making towards women. Taylor make a connection with Daniel. They're both very funny, happy, suburban people. There's not really much to say about them because they're kind of boring, not in a mean way, just that I think the editing make it show that they really don't talk about much substance other than the fact that they're like Christmas, so we're just gonna skip through them for the most part. I will say that he has a really great way of wording things, which is why she was also attracted to him. Like, instead of saying I agree with you, he will always say I'm right there with you. He's also quick to give her assurance when she does need reassurance. I was gonna say it's the bare minimum, but I realized on this show at least it's not, so I will give him a little compliment for that. Dave is back, this time with Molly. She talked about how she have a tattoo on her butt and how Dave gave the impression that he hasn't seen many bum, which is so interesting because for me he seems like a huge slut. Yeah, I don't know, man, he seems like he's seen loads of bums. I don't know where she's getting this impression from. I guess the world do wonders, you know, your imagination go crazy when you can't see the person. So after the date, Molly go back to the girls' quarters, which is where they live, and calls him her husband in front of the girls, which was overheard by Lauren, and she got upset, which we'll see is a reoccurring thing that she get upset when Molly talk about Dave. Daniel is back on a date with Taylor, whose dad is also called Daniel. Like, again, what is this weird that thing going on? They seem happy. He loves Taco Bell and she has a tattoo of Taco Bell, and I think these small coincidences really seems like a lot when you're in these pods. It really gives you the illusion that this is meant to be or this is the right person. Sarah meets with Ben, who talk about his religion and how he's a Christian. She's also raised Christian, but she didn't really agree with the irony and hypocrisy when it comes to how they treat certain groups of people, such as the LGBTQ community, particularly because her sister is gay. And while he does say he's not homophobic, he says it in a very weird way. Rather than saying, yeah, it's fine for people to be gay, he says something like, yeah, I agree with these people. Those people deserve rights. And I think he's fine with them to do whatever they want to do, as how he would phrase it, as long as it doesn't impact him. And he gave off homophobic ally is the word I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying, Jaja?
I do.
Back in the quarters, we see Lauren getting upset again because Molly was talking about Dave. And Lauren isn't sure whether Molly knows her connection with Dave, and I don't think Molly does because the whole time Molly thought it was Sarah. Just try to follow me here, but Lauren here thinks Molly is trying to make Lauren doubt her connection with Dave by talking about Dave, which honestly Molly doesn't seem like the one who have time or headspace to do things like this and just give off a bit of insecurity. And I understand how it's hard to hear someone you're dating is dating other people, but at this point, like, you just have to get over it. Like, she is getting upset. She's back in the pods with Dave. They talk about how Molly is very funny and it's enjoyable to talk to her, and Lauren's like, I don't want to hear about it, which is very fair because I wouldn't want to hear about it. Like, you keep that to yourself. Why are you telling your other connection how good the other connection is? He reassures Lauren that he feels at home with her, which I kind of think is true. He does seem really comfortable and just genuine with Lauren, and now Lauren's back to being sure on him, and this just really showed that she has no backbone. I hate to say this about a woman, but this girl throughout the show has zero backbone. Dave then meet up with Molly and they seem to have more fun together. I feel like at this point he is leading both women on. He doesn't really promise anything necessarily, but he says stuff like, oh, I look forward to the future with you, I can see myself proposing to you, which obviously can be very confusing. He then said, and I can't even make this up, not that it matters, but I've cheated before. And it's like, why do you not think it matters? I don't know. I personally would love to know if my partner has cheated before. Although I don't believe one's a cheater, always a cheater.
I do.
You can be a better person with someone else. I do think if you don't want to be a cheater anymore, you have to do some serious work on yourself, whether it's self-reflection, going to therapy, and he seemed to have done none of those. Anyways, he regrets it, and it's like, duh, they always regret it. Molly said she had a sense that when he was talking about his lacking in integrity, it was regarding his past relationship, and it was because he cheated on her and apparently didn't have any integrity in the whole process of this. He then said like, yeah, like now that I know when I go out like to bachelor parties in Vegas and girls come up to me, I know not to entertain it. First of all, like, do you mean strippers come up to you? Because I'm pretty sure they're paid to do that. Instead of just saying parties or going out, he specified bachelor parties in Vegas, and I think he just wanted to look cool. Like, we all know you've never been to that many bachelor parties in Vegas. Like, he talked about it like he's there every weekend or something. Molly recognized the fact that he showed growth. I don't know where she got that from. I mean, just because he recognized things are wrong doesn't mean he showed growth. Like, I doubt he ever thought cheating was the right thing to do. He probably thought it was wrong during the process too. Just because he talked about something and said it was wrong does not show growth. And I hope this goes out to all the girlies out there. She does believe in forgiving people's past since she was the third person of a relationship. However, she did process why she did that and how she would never do it again. And this is processing. Like, why would she like put this on herself but not expect it of other people? Like, I would never understand that. He thanked her for being understanding, but sometimes I think we should be less understanding and more shaming. And then we have Madison and Alex. They talk, they bond. She brought up the fact that how she has a alien bear stuffed toy, which I'm not sure why I noted that, but I thought that was such an interesting thing to have. And then she go on a date with Mason, and I do like Mason when he's with her. He have this shyness that you don't really see with Meg, and he's very responsive. I did skip through the part when they were flirting because I get really bad secondhand embarrassment. But at the same time, I think she's just too cool for him. Well, I think she's too cool for most men, but specifically Mason. He just seems like a very simple guy. In his conversation with Meg, he talked about how he loved the idea of building a fort and getting takeaway, which, don't get me wrong, sounds like a great time, but it seems like he can't comprehend anything beyond this. And I'm happy for him to be such a simple person, but I just don't think Madison is the one for him. And then the crazy thing happened. When Mason was on a date with Meg, he made a joke that Meg is just an imagination because she's too perfect and honestly everything he wanted. And Meg's like, oh, like the movie Her? It was shocking because right before this, on a date with Madison, he talked about the movie Her and how that's his like favorite movie ever. Pretty sure he also brought it up because he thinks Madison is the perfect girlfriend, but we're gonna look past that. If I was him, I would think this is meant to be. This is the sign that we should stay together forever and ever. They both love the movie Inception. I watched it, it was 3 a.m. and I fell asleep and I never rewatched it since. But I do have a gist of what the movie is about, and I can see how they're the type of people to be so fascinated by it. Not that it's not a good movie, but they're like the archetype of people who think this is like the best thing ever made. It's like they're a type of men who be so fascinated by Quentin Tarantino, and they're the type of people who are so fascinated by Christopher Nolan. I think they're just both very simple people who hear about weird stuff and cool ideas.
I lost the footage for episode 2. Nothing much happened there other than the fact that Madison told Alex she has anxious attachment style, which really scared Alex because he's avoidant style and he started being avoidant by telling Madison that he doesn't think they would work out. Joey proposed to Monica, and yes, that's everything that happened.
Episode 3. We get our first review of the season, Joey and Monica. They were very happy. I mean, she is beautiful, so it must be a pleasant surprise for him. The way they acted was very cute. You can tell by the way they were acting that they genuinely adore each other. Like, she was like petting him like a puppy. By the way, I was thinking what dress I will wear to the review, and I was thinking like, do you bring a dress? Because if you don't get to have the review when no one proposed to you, you have to go home. And that's kind of sad. Or do they have like a sponsor and you pick a dress out? But I would be annoyed because I want to wear like the best dress I ever own. Sarah meets with Ben. She asks him his favorite childhood memories, which is such a good question to ask on dates. I'm definitely taking notes. Back with Madison and Alex, in an effort to show him that she is ready to commit and change for the better, she gave him her beer alien, also known as Beardian. Coincidentally, it wasn't something I was gonna note down. He was fascinated by it, and I was too. I didn't know what to expect, and whatever I was imagining it wasn't that. And honestly, it's kind of cute. He apologized for his distancing and bringing his past relationship trauma into the current one. Mason meet Madison and Meg. I feel like with Mason, Madison's more a comforting character for him, whereas with Meg, they just talk about aliens. yes, they still talk about aliens. Yeah, they talk about how the pyramids are built by an alien, which I recently saw something that said how the idea that pyramids are built by aliens is so Eurocentric and come from a place of racism. And honestly, I wasn't really thinking about that until I meet these few people and I fully understand what they meant. I'm not saying they're racist, but the fact that they're bringing up like weird stones. That's literally what they're talking about. But the fact that this man is talking about weird stones they discovered made by no material ever seen by human and it glows in the dark. And she was like, yeah, this is why alien built pyramids. And it's like, people just need to read more books. Then we wouldn't be here. I can't believe I'm out here defending pyramid. I don't really feel particular passion to the pyramid, but I am sick of these Eurocentric views. Thinking the pyramid is built by aliens is something a 10-year-old would say because they first encountered the concept and can't fully process it. And I think as 30, if you still can't process this information, that's kind of embarrassing. But what do I know? I'm just a 22-year-old with no job. Self-awareness is key, guys. But at this point, Mason tell the boys that Meg is not his number one, while at the same time that Meg tell the girls that he's her only one. That was very poetic. With Dave, Lauren talk about how she should be more guarded in the girls' quarter with her date experience. And it's like, I understand. But at the same time, it's such a huge gossip. Like, I want to know what everyone is talking about and who they're talking to. Like, I think it's so tricky because obviously you don't want to share too much, but the idea of not knowing anything is also scary. What if he's just a big fat liar like Dave is? Anyways, they talk about kids and again he make the aging joke, and honestly I just don't think he's joking. He's being so for real that she's old for him. He's definitely the type to date a 22-year-old because he want to feel young, or he's just young at heart. And I don't know why men don't think their clock are ticking as well, because I know bias affects studies and how facts are presented, but you really think you're gonna be pumping out quality kids when you're old? No. The fact that he thinks he's beyond that biological aging is actually amazing to me. Like, the clock is ticking for everyone. And yes, scientific bias can influence scientific facts. Like, only recently are women talking about how your birth symptoms actually relate to a man's sperm quality. For the longest time, like, women are the only one who have to regulate their behavior during pregnancy. So the fact that he can't comprehend this at this age is, again, just disappointing, I guess. Like, what happened to books? What happened to education? Are we all pursuing education here? And I don't mean a college degree, I mean like education. It seems like this city, I don't want to say country, is lacking. He's definitely the type to resent his wife for gaining weight after birthing a whole child. But again, she brushed it off because, like I said, she seemed to have no backbone when it comes to relationship. He jokingly asked if there's anything on her phone she'd like to delete after she gets her phone back. And she was like, yeah, well, I do have some nudes. And he was, you can tell, shocked by this information. He did not expect that from her. He said, oh, but you're a teacher. And it's like, what does that have to do with anything? I didn't know there was like an entry level for taking nudes. And I think it really shattered his sweet and innocent impression of hers. In a post interview, he did admit that he didn't see himself falling for her because she's a teacher and teacher are nerdy, while Molly's a dancer. And honestly, it just sounded like that his idea of Molly is more attractive because she is a dancer, whereas teachers have a higher chance of being, I guess, average looking people. I personally think Lauren is a great wife material for him, while Molly's the ideal girlfriend. She is more cool and independent, and although I think these are very great qualities to have, I think for Dave this is a disaster because he sounds like he wants someone to just listen to whatever he says. Back on the date with him and Molly, he's just an awful listener. Like, no matter what you say, he's just gonna be like,
Gosh, that's awesome.
It's so frustrating to see. Like, his head is not there. I don't think his head is anywhere, to be exact. They talk more about their life, and he said that he liked girls with interests and hobby. Again, misogynist presumption that girls don't have interests and hobby. He wants girls to, and I quote, not rely him on entertainment. I mean, I don't know what people rely him on entertainment. That's actually really sad that people think he's entertaining at all. And then comes the one of the most frustrating conversation I've ever seen on the show, which is political beliefs. First of all, it's the first time I've really seen it explicitly on the show, and it seems like they've been cutting it out in previous shows, and this is the first season that we really have a look on how this play into relationships. He said that there is no one right side, and saying that one side is completely wrong is stupid. While I agree with the sentiment that a broken clock is right twice a day, people who say this are just Republican who can't have the balls to admit they're Republican. I mean, personally, if you're embarrassed by your political belief, then you should know there's something wrong with it. While yes, not everything has a exact right or wrong, I just hate he can't even admit his wrongful beliefs. He said, For Republicans, I do agree with wanting less taxes, but for liberals, they just want to spread love. What a way to downplay demanding human rights. You said, sure, I don't agree with abortion because of what if the mother's life in danger or SA. It's just very tricky gray zone. A woman shouldn't suffer for you to give her her basic healthcare. What is the gray zone? It's very black and white for me. I just don't even know what he's talking about, and I don't think what he knows he's talking about as well. And then he started complaining about how everything got political, like how you have to write your political beliefs on your dating website. And then he said, and I can't even make this up, can't we just love each other because we have different political beliefs? I'm so amazed by how some people's head work. Like, first of all, to answer his question, no, I cannot love you if you know that you support the bombing of my people. I was so frustrated and angry watching this, but I realized he's a white man. Political beliefs doesn't matter to him because no one's out to get him. Like, if I was in a political party that support giving natives back their land, he will be the first one to disagree with me, but because his rights is not threatened, obviously it's fine. Also, I just want to share this exciting experience that I had in the UK that really reminded me of this. But one time I was just walking down the street in the UK minding my own business with my friends, and this man came up to me, and first of all, he was wearing skinny jeans, but it gets so much worse than that. He started talking to me on prompt and started telling me how he didn't like immigrants, and then after all that, he had the audacity to ask me to go back home with him, which obviously I didn't because that's not where I came from. I'm not even mad that he's a racist. I'm really just mad that he can't even stood his ground on being a racist. He then complained about how stay-at-home mom is suddenly a negative notion when women choose to stay at home. And it's like, yes, they do. What a great way to miss the point. And again, him choosing to bring up women staying at home as a main issue that bothered him because it threatened his right as a working husband with a free maid. And honestly, at this point, I just hate him, as if you can't tell enough. He definitely had this little speech to gauge if she was conservative. She seemed to be fine with whatever he's saying, so she is conservative, like whether she want to admit it or not. Also, I would just like to say she was wearing her dirty Air Force on the couch, like her Air Force was touching the couch, and I thought that was nasty. People be laying down when they make a deep connection. If you're wondering at this point why I keep talking about the same people, it's because that's what the editing this season is. You really focus on the two love triangle. I feel like other couples are just for filler, and because there isn't really much drama going on, the episodes just feel very empty, which is why it feels like there's not much happening, because there isn't. Madison and Alex. I do feel bad for Madison because she will bring up issues caused by very intense family drama and then say, oh, but that's okay. And it's like, it's not, and it's okay to admit it's not okay, but she feel the need to justify her weakness almost. And though it showed her resilience, I do feel a bit bad for her. It must have taken her a lot to be so independent and work through all of this alone. Again, he was really sweet about it. He's like, tell me if there's anything I can do. She just needs to know that he's not going to be scared of the extent she could shut down. He said, I don't know, because I never seen you and never seen you in these potential episodes. And I do understand him. Like, when you're getting married, there's a lot more to consider, and you really need to know what you're putting yourself through. Madison then meets up with Mason. She at this point is doubting him a bit because he's still talking to both women, but at the same time she's not too bothered by it because she agreed with the idea that they should all explore other choices. She asked him about his past relationship. He said he has always been dumped, specifically emotionally cheated on. I'm sorry, it's not funny. So she asked him, why is that? Like, why do you think that is? And he has no idea. And I think this is really the point. You can see they're very different in depths. He had no self-reflection. And I'm not trying to say that when you get cheated on, it's your fault. But if it happened like 3 times, you should consider what went wrong. And this does not mean like your personal issue. You look for a specific type of people. Like, there's so many things you could reflect on. But I think he just going to bed and goes, oh, well, that was a bad day. Another scenario where we see that they don't match intellectually is that Mason said he has never felt like this with someone else before, and Madison's like, what do you mean? Like, this is so vague, give me a more exact meaning, and he can't give it to her. I think he expected her to be so awed and like fluttered by this comment, but when she asked him what does that mean, he just went blank. Like, Madison does talk about how Meg's strong feeling for Mason affects how she is with Mason, particularly that Meg is Mason or no one else. Meg specifically has been trying not to tell Mason that because she didn't want to scare him off. And I don't really think it was her place to share that. I don't think she knew that Mason don't know that. Episode 4, we have these second most frustrating conversation, which is with Ben and Sarah. She asked him about his political beliefs because she said that it's very important for her, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, which I didn't know, but it happened in Minneapolis, so it hit home for her. She did grow up in a very white conservative family, and she didn't really get into politics till George Floyd and Trump, which is kind of late, I would say, but personal development, I guess. Yeah, these are things that is very important for her. And white men really surprise me every day because Ben said, I don't really care about it because as long as I don't know, it can't do much. It's giving the same sentiment as when you're younger and you close your eyes, and if you don't see the ghosts in your closet, they can't do much. Except he's talking about basic rights. And Sarah calls him out. She was like, this is annoying. Annoying is a downplay because I would think it's outright stupid.
She's stupid.
And he said, I keep out of it. And this again amazed me because I grew up in a very diverse environment. Sure, there's not a huge Black community here, but I think everyone's very educated and self-aware on a certain level, especially come with race issues. Even if I was a racist, I would have the shame to not admit it out loud. So for me, it's crazy to see that not only is he blatantly unaware, but it also shows that he grew up in an environment that's so sheltered that he can admit on TV that's gonna broadcast to the whole world that he doesn't care about basic rights of Black people, but at least have the shame to not admit it. Oh my god, what happened to shame? I think in some way I'm jealous because like how he's just so ignorant. I think he believes that as long as you don't think about it, he's not racist, but that's just not true. Like, willful ignorance is racism, especially when you benefit from the system. But I don't think he have enough critical thinking skills to ever comprehend that. And she shared the same sentiment. She was like, just because you're not actively racist doesn't mean you're not by keeping out of it. Sarah shares that she's open to discussion, but not on basic human rights because it speaks volume as who you are as a person. I agree. I think if you're so ignorant at the age of 30, that means something's fundamentally wrong with you. He had enough education and resources, and honestly, if he's still not like that, he's just lacking. Again, Madison meets with Mason. He told her she's his number one, and she made this face. It's not only that she's not expecting it, but she's really not happy to hear that. And they again get very sexual, which I skipped. I do wonder to what extent her need to sexualize herself and things come from the fact that she grew up ugly, but that could just be a projection. He wears Dior Sauvage, which shows that he has limited taste. He then go on and meet Meg, and Meg asks him how he feels about them. He doesn't give an outright answer and just try to avoid it, but this gave Meg hope, which is really sad. And she went back in the quarters saying how she feel like she's gonna get married. And yeah, it's just really heartbreaking to see. Devin goes on a date with Brittany. He opens up about his past where he had a substance addiction, specifically ibuprofen, since he had a hip injury, and this was the experience that really led him to God. And she opened up about her past relationship and experiences with women. However, she does only envision herself marrying to a man. I do think this is just a product of heteronormality. Like, I was talking to my girls about it, but I feel like a lot of times girls who like girls can't see themselves dating women, mainly because they never had representation growing up, whether it's media or just around them. Culturally, like, that's the only thing you're taught as a child. Anyways, he didn't take that very well.
You had the one experience?
I've had a few experiences.
He was actually truly shocked. He kept asking if she's still attracted to women. Obviously, she probably will be because it's not a phase. I think he really wanted her to say that it was a phase. She think women are hot, get over it. Molly meets Dave and he asks her for her preference in rings, specifically whether she prefers silver or gold, and he said he'd be scared if a girl asked for a huge look at me ring. Just say you're broke, but also he said he wanted pretty girls, specifically unrealistic pretty girls who spend money and time into plastic surgery. So obviously they want to look at me ring because their whole face is look at me. I just hate when broke men want like unrealistically pretty girls and then complain that they have unrealistic standard for everything they own. Like, that's the whole point. It's like finding a girl in the club and then complaining she go to the club. And he calls her his number one. Molly then talk about it in the girls' quarter and Lauren hears it again. And she called Molly a liar for saying that. She thinks Molly's interpreting things wrong. She does question whether Dave was being manipulative. Lauren is now on a date with Dave and question him like, did you say Molly's your number one? And at first I was like, yeah, you go girl, call him out. He said he was scared for this to happen, which is to get caught in the girls drama. Like, I don't think the drama here is girls drama. I think the drama here is you being a slut, is what she said, but not nicer. Episode 5, still at a date. I'm shocked because she was very emotional and thought she was just gonna leave. He just said the feelings are confusing, like he's very similar to Molly. And Lauren's like, am I not similar to you? And it's like, baby, you're not. And that's fine. I think all-time great relationship does not build on similarity. But yeah, why do you want to be similar to this man? She was really upset that they're not similar. She does question how it's possible for him to have two very deep connections at the same time. I mean, he's a cheater, so I'm sure he's very good at that. He told Lauren not to give up because that's the easy way up. And it's like, it's not called giving up, it's called having self-respect. And then he said that he didn't tell Molly that she's his number one. So now he's just outright lying. And then he told Lauren that he also see himself proposing to her and he never saw that with anyone else. Again, big fat liar. And then he had this sudden realization about himself, how he's like, honestly, he's just going through all stages of grief. He's acting exactly like a 19-year-old who got caught cheating and cried about how his grandma died when he was 3. Dev and Brittany broke it off. She actually initiated this because she didn't think it was gonna work out, and he happily accepted this because he does not like the fact that she likes women. And although she did try to keep it light and she was really respectful and mature about it, she was very upset, and you can tell it's a hard choice that she didn't want to do. She really wanted him to be okay with this. Obviously, she didn't want him to lie. Sarah meets Ben again. They address the elephant in the room, which is that he does not care about black people. The thing is, I think he would really bond with a conservative, ignorant white girl from a suburb town. Like, they would live a very happy life. And Sarah, though being very firm on her ground on being an activist, she accepts him.
Sarah Elizabeth Carton, will you make me the happiest man in the world, and will you marry me?
Yes!
I don't really see a point of her bringing up how this is important for her. Back in the boys' quarter, Dave started crying and said that his sister might disagree with his choices, which, what does that even mean? And it's like, I really don't think your sister cares. Just admit that you're too scared to make a choice. He goes back on a date with Molly. He's still crying, and at this point you realize that he's actually fake crying because he's sniffling and rubbing his eyes, but there's no tears coming out. Molly led the question basically and asked like if he felt more connected with Lauren. He said, I guess so. You can tell he's just trying to make the other person breaking off with him so he doesn't have to be the bad guy. And Molly clocks it. She was like, I think you want to choose Lauren without wanting to choose Lauren. He was like, no. Why would you think that? And he still doesn't say that he wants to choose Lauren. And at this point, Molly just had enough. She was like, let's just end it. But she really wasn't particularly upset. He instantly stopped the fake crying. He was like, you're not upset? I can tell his ego is so hurt that this woman didn't like cry and beg him to stay. She went back into the quarters crying and I had a talk with Lauren. I do wonder to what extent this talk is staged because there was no other girl in that room. So she apologized to Lauren and said that she didn't know it was Lauren this whole time who had a connection with Dave. That's why she was happy to admit certain things in front of Lauren. Lauren admit that she does felt like they were both played by Dave. But the moment Molly said that, oh, they broke it off, Lauren was instantly smiley, like she couldn't even hide it. You confront him about him lying, and the moment like some girl ditched him, you want him, she is so ready to jump back in and just take him for who he is. He then said that Molly was trying to flip the thing on him. Also, just a side note, he was wearing very ugly short shorts, and Lauren calls him genuine though, for whatever reason. What a crazy turn of event. He did end up proposing and she said yes. We have the review of Sarah and Ben. He was really happy, I would say. He bolted at her and he was very pleasantly surprised. I would be too. Like if I came on Love is Blind and blinded by my partner's face card, like what a lucky person I am. Not only do they like me for who I am, they're also hot. Madison broke up with Mason and he instantly switched and said that when he chose to commit to Madison, it just didn't feel right. Which is very interesting that he only felt that after she broke it off with him. And she was like this is why I didn't choose you, because you're slimy. This was really sneaky of Alex, but in the quarter when Mason come back, Alex hug him and comfort him. And so evil, he's like, tell me about it, as if your girlfriend didn't just dump him. Meg does meet Mason. He gave her roses, which is funny because he only got her roses when he did something wrong. Meg does question his excuse of it didn't feel right when I say it, only after Madison broke up with him. And honestly, he had no defense. This is also the point where he found out Alex, his bestie, was also the one who is dating Madison. Double betrayed. Episode 6, Meg breaks up with Mason as well. This is the second time in a row he had to go back to the quarter with the food he prepared for the girl, and honestly that is kind of embarrassing. I do feel bad for him because I feel like Meg was a great match. And then we had a review of Dave and Lauren. They played a clip of him saying no one ever loved him for who he is because he played football in school. And it's like, first of all, I'm sure some girl at her low point in their life has loved you for who you are for whatever reason, but also I don't think the football is the issue here. I think you're just a bad person who doesn't deserve to be loved for who you are. She was reserved because he said he only dates hot people, and I don't know why that bothered her because she's quite attractive. He seemed again pleasantly surprised because she is very attractive. He's dressed like if Cam from Modern Family got a job to sell fancy perfume in department stores. I don't really understand what's going on here. He looked awful in the suit and his head is awfully small. I will say though, as much as I despise him, it is kind of cute seeing him with Lauren, like he does love her and his eyes are filled with love. Devin proposed to Virginia. She said yes. Alex and Madison, and this is the part where I didn't really understand why Alex did that, but he kept talking for Mason. He said I sympathize with him, and I do understand why he changed his narrative. And Madison obviously didn't like that. It felt like you're invalidating her feelings, but he just keeps saying, oh, I'm very sympathetic and I understand where people come from, and that really wasn't what she was looking for. So she does go a bit quiet, and this scared him off a bit. And I think this is the time where we see he's actually a lot more anxious and avoidant than he thinks he is. So Alex broke it off. You understand, obviously he's going to marriage, not just dating. So do you think she deserved a great person? Also a lot of breakup this season. There's two whole couple who could have made it, but like decided to just break up instead. Dave and Virginia have their review. She looked really cute in her little dress. She looked great. Like she was glowing, she's beautiful. He was shocked, stunned by how pretty she is. Once again, every woman this season is gorgeous. It's been a pleasant surprise for all of the male contestants. Daniel and Taylor have their review. Haven't talked about them a lot because they're just fun people who love Christmas. That's really all you have to know about them. They seem really happy. He was nervous because he's a short king, and although that's not really Taylor's usual type, she does really like him. They seem cute. I'm 1'6'8" and I live in a city where a lot of men are shorter than me when I wear heels, so I think 5'8" is really not that bad. Just when you think everything went right, we see Taylor being very anxious and looked like she cried in a hotel room. You actually don't see this until the next episode, so I will talk about it in my next video. I forgot to film my prediction, and by the time this come out, I think the wedding episode has came out as well. But I think the couples that are gonna get married are Joey and Monica and Taylor and Daniel. Everyone else, I don't think they will get married, and honestly I truly pray to God that they don't. I've been yapping for 2 hours I think, and you can hear it from my voice. For watching this was fun. I think I would have been more energetic, but it's actually 3 a.m. right now and my sister is here but hasn't given me any emotional support. Yeah, I hope you liked this video. I actually had a lot of fun. Well, I thought I had a lot of fun making this video, but honestly I just kept watching Love is Blind, and I think I just need to move on to the new episodes now. Like and subscribe if you do like it. And honestly I had a lot of questions coming to making this video because I don't know, like if that's something I should do. It's very different from what I usually do on my channel. Yeah, let me know how you feel about this video. Thanks for watching me yap. I will see you guys next week. Have a good day.